Okay, guys, so we are going to get into um, composites, and we ultimately do 4 composites for this class. The original version of this class only had 2 done. We amped that up because in the experience when I was writing this thing and talking to the other people who had taught both digital 1 and 2, the composite stuff in many ways ends up being um, I think in some ways one of the more interesting assignments. Um, and so at any rate, that's how this whole thing is going to go down. So I want to show you guys, I'm going to kill these lights. I want to show you a couple of slides really fast of some different composites. There's primarily going to be 4 different techniques that we go through. We'll do 2 of them this week. We will The course of this runs over a couple of weeks. So again, it's a typical, you'll shoot this coming week for the composite. You will spend the week after that actually building it in software. But the same week you're building your first set, you will be shooting for your second series of composites and build it in the third week. So it's still the same every, shooting for a week and working for a week to end up with something to critique. This is not. Oh, this is.
So this upcoming week we should be creating our typologies and then shooting.
Exactly. You should be building your typologies this coming week, and then you should also be shooting for your first composite. But as you're going to see, because we're going to shoot one tonight. Sorry, that is not the one I wanted to open. No, I take it back. It is. Okay, so composites or montaging. There's 2 different versions that we're going to talk about here in the beginning. One is seamless and one is grid view. So we're going to look at some examples of seamless montage right here. Kelli Connell is God, she'd kill me if she heard me say this. Kelli Connell. Has anybody had Kelli Connell? And she's a teacher, full-time faculty here. Anyway, this is some of her work. And so what this is that this is actually the same person. And it's a whole series of images that she has done here. She's explored this whole thing. So this would be an example of seamless compositing because there's no real place where you pick up any sort of artifice in this. It simply looks like a normal conventional image. In some of these cases you would never know. In some of these cases you might not know. You might pick up on it here. And in things like this, she can actually get relatively complicated in doing her compositing work. But clearly this is about interaction between these 2 people. So anyway, that's Kelli. This is Nathan Baker. The person in here is all the same person. So again, this is relatively what we considered a seamless composite. Again, it's the same situation here. You see it's all the same guy with the same mustache working through all of these. So this is going to be something that we're actually going to shoot here in class tonight, and I'll show you guys how to do this part. So this is going to be your assignment, is to actually do one of these. Does this make sense what's going on here? Okay. And you can see there's a wide sort of, set of possibilities that you have. Some of it gets extremely complex like this. Some of the stuff that Kelli was doing was far simpler. This is a grid montage right here, and there's 2 versions of the grid. The first one is called Breaking the Frame. David Hockney, he does examples of both of these. But in this case, you can see that it is actually, he's shot pictures of this person swimming in a swimming pool. He shot multiple exposures of this, or multiple images. It's not a change of exposure. It's all the same exposure. But he's actually sort of documenting this space in pieces, and then he reconstructs this as a grid to build this, which is essentially a single image. So it sort of makes sense what's going on here. pretty evident. It's not necessarily really a puzzle. You'll see here, it sort of like works in that same sort of thing. It's for me more like if you have had any background in art history at all, in painting specifically, it's more like cubism, exactly. Because what it also allows you to do, you'll see in a couple of other things right here, it allows you, like for instance here, you can see, I don't have a cursor here, so I can't point it out on the video, but you can see right here that you're actually catching the profile of this guy's face here, but now you're catching more of a three-quarter view of it here. And in this part up in here, he's actually turned his head all the way looking at straight. So it not as just taking a scene and sort of deconstructing it into these pieces. Also within that, you can actually move things around to give you different perspectives of that. So it's more of a dimensional and a time element that's actually involved in that part. Yeah. David Hillard. Now this would be more, this again would still be considered that same sort of thing that the Hockney thing has got going on. But what he does is he actually takes, in this case you can obviously see what's happening, he's taking pictures sort of in the sense of a panorama, but he's not doing it in a way to really stitch this together. He deliberately is not doing that part of it. In his case, he really is more interested in exploring shifts of time and something of vantage point. But so you'll sort of see issues like this. So this is another viable option for you guys as a possibility. You'll read more about this in the assignment part as well. So it ends up being more diptychs, triptychs, quadtychs, synctychs, sextits, ticks. And this, you see a lot of them that are done end up being like this, because what he's doing, he's got his camera like this fixed right here, and as he turns his camera to shoot this angle right here, it distorts this side right here. That ends up being pretty distortion free and flat on. This also distorts as well on this side. That's why you get things like these converging lines on the table right here going in both directions. It's pretty much of a standard thing that you'll spot doing this kind of work. This is an example where you really do begin to almost get into more time and space. So you can see sort of how this is actually being dealt with. There's clearly a transition of time in here between the guy lighting his cigar, the guy not lighting the cigar, where he's, his head's tilted down in one, it's up and over in the other, whatever. There's clearly a passage of time part in here. Dawoud Bey. Has anybody here had a class with Dawoud? Dawoud this is actually one of it. Dawoud got really famous in the beginning for his project in Harlem, extremely famous for it. This is something he did much, much later in his career, but these are equally famous. This is a series of, these are 20 by 24 Polaroids.
These are Urban Dater, not this one, but they're Urban Dater right now.
Oh, they are? Oh, nice. Oh, that's right. I knew that. Yeah, it just opened like last week, right? Yeah. So you can actually go see these things. Some of these. So again, transition of time. This figure right here is clearly in one space and framing one thing, and here doing actually another thing here. Same guy here. Again, it's a sort of an indication of time. My bridge. Clearly an indication of time, transition of time. The thing he became the most famous for. All right, so does that whole thing sort of make sense to you guys as far as this part goes? All right, so we are going to look, I've got some samples of stuff. We're actually going to build some of these guys right now. So I'm going to turn the lights back on because we're going to actually do the first one with all of you. Okay, so I've got a camera here. on a tripod. So the first thing about doing it, so the first one we're going to do is the sort of the Kelli Connell one where we're actually doing multiples within the frame. That's how we're going to start. That'll be the first thing we'll do. And again, I'm going to expect you guys to do one of these samples. Does that sort of make sense? Okay, so to start with, I shoot in Capture One, which may be alien to. Does anybody in this room shoot with Capture One at all? This may be beyond you guys. Andy does a little bit here. It's just, for me, it's a program that I can work in tethered, so I can see my results immediately. I can do sort of reading things about it, whatever. We have talked about this card in this class before, haven't we? This guy right here. So I'm going to show you how to use this thing tonight. We're going to actually go through all of those issues. That sort of makes sense? Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to put this guy right here. As another subject for me. So in Capture One, again, you can do this. You can shoot tethered to Lightroom, so you could do this in Lightroom. You could actually shoot to a card and bring this into Lightroom and get the same information off of it. It's just a way for me to get information about this. Does that sort of make sense what we're going with here? So, what do you think the exposure in this room is? Oh, come on. You guys are better than that. Nobody has a guess? I'm going to go with an ISO of 800. I'm going to shoot it wide open right now to get some sort of an exposure going here, and I'm going to try it at a 15th of a second. What do you think? I think it's a little bit hot. How hot is this? Stop and a half. Close. We'll see. So to use this card, the way you actually want to use it is the first thing we have to do is color balance. Again, you guys know how to color balance in Lightroom. You know how to color balance in Camera Raw. We could do this in Camera Raw as well. Well, actually, when I get this right, I'll drag it into Camera Raw and show it to you. So the first thing we want to do is color balance. This whole series of patches that runs along the bottom are neutral shades of gray. So I'm going to pick on the one in the middle and click on it. This has now actually been neutralized. And then again, I'm looking at the readout value of the white patch right here. My readouts are right up here. It tells me what my RGB values and a luminosity value as well. So again, I think we've had this conversation in this class. We want that numbers to be where? The value, the readout of this white patch. Haven't we had this conversation in this class? 255 is white. That is not a page white. 245 to 250. That has detail. That's real. That is not page white, right? So to keep it real, I can't be at 255. If I'm at 255, that is just a piece of paper that's got no detail in it at all. It's gone. So I need it slightly below that. That's why I'm looking for that 245 to 250 range. So again, this is still a little bit too hot to me. I'm going to take it down another 2/3 of a stop. I'm going to read the value again. This is now 253, slightly too hot still at a 6.3. I'm at a 251, I'm reading these numbers up here, slightly too hot still at a 7.1. A 247, it's exactly where I want to be, between 245 and 250. I have perfect exposure right now. And I've got a white patch in here that I can color correct on. I have perfect color. That's how long it takes me to do this shit. I don't take any longer. And it's just done. I don't worry about it anymore. I've got maximum data. I've got everything in the world possibly that I could have going for me is going for me. And it just, that took us a minute maybe? Not even? All right. Are we good on this part? Does that part make sense? Okay, so I know where I'm supposed to be at exposure-wise right now. However, I don't want to actually make my pictures with this card in it. So, again, I'm going to double-click to zoom back out. This is what my image looks right now. I'm actually going to refocus on Emma, and I need everybody in this room to get up. So this is the next thing about doing this. Once you get your focus in. Once you get your focus in, like I've got right now, so I'm actually using, I cheat, I use autofocus. How many people in this room manual focus everything? It's okay. It's not like I've got you guys like so worried. You think I'm gonna like throw you under the bus or something, right? Oh, I can't believe. No, anyway, I grew up. There was no such thing as autofocus for my entire career, and when they finally came out with it, it was like the happiest day of my life. Well, not the happiest day, but I was very happy. Anyway, okay. So, but once you get this in focus, you need to then take the focus, the autofocus off, because what we're going to try to do here is we're going to do multiple pictures that we stitch together to actually be a single composite. Does that make sense? However, if for some reason my focus shifts between the pictures, they won't match together. There will be a mismatch of focus. Does that sort of make sense? Are we good on that part? Okay, so with that being said, I need everybody on this side of the room to go over to this side of the room. And that includes you guys in the middle. Everybody's got to go over here to start with. And just somewhere over here. But don't go any further forward than... Hang on. Yeah, you're in a good spot, but don't come any too much forward than that. But spread out. Go that way some more, some more. And you guys got to go back there too. I need everybody in this. So you just have to go far enough on that side that you're not in front of the whiteboard. So head that way just a little bit more, Caroline, you're good. Okay, stop right there. So if you can see me, great. If you can't see me, I can't see you. All righty. Son of a bitch. Sorry, guys. Hang with me. This also happens with Capture One all the time, so just so you know. Oh, come on. Okay, don't move. Perfect. I need everybody to go on the other side of the room, on the other side of that guy. Don't go over that far. Come back. Yeah, jam in here. Oh, actually, you can go in front of the whiteboard. That's okay. You're good. Yeah. Just jam in a little bit tighter there. Perfect. That'll work. Andy, go that way just a fraction. Right there. Good. You're good. You're good, right? Sort of. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. Can you guys see me? Good? For the most part. Okay, everybody come back and have a seat. You're actually going to do this with me, guys. You're going to do this with me. So I've got 3 images right here that I've just created, and I am going to dump these onto our server, and I need you to copy them to your desktop. This is not a part of your homework, so you're not going to turn these things in, but All right, I'm going to give you guys two folders. So the first one is a folder just called Capture, and inside of it you will see a shot 1, a shot 2, and a shot 3. So I need you to copy that to your desktop, and then I'm going to give you another one right now. Just the copy the entire capture folder, and it'll bring shot 1, 2, and 3 with it. And then I just put another folder over there called Capture 2, or called Capture 2 or 2, however you get a D in there. Anyway, so it's these two folders. Does everybody have those two guys? All right. Tell me when you're there. Not yet? Okay. Is everybody else good? Okay. So I want to start with the ones that are in the Capture D2 folder first. The one, the miss whatever one. Yeah, you guys get where I'm going, right? That's the one I want to start with. So I need you to open up that folder. There's 3 files inside. One of them is the color target, and the other 2 are the files that we just shot here in this classroom. So I need you to select all 3 of those guys at once. You can either just click and drag across it, or you can click on the top one, hold down the Shift key, and click on the bottom one. Somehow you need to select all 3 of those files and drag it on top of Photoshop icon in your dock. And it will open up in Photoshop into Camera Raw. Is everybody there? I'm going to keep going, guys. If something is not happening for you, you need to stop me. But are we good on this part? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so the first things first, you should have the, if you've selected the very top image, if it's the active one, you should see the color target. And I want you to zoom in on the color target. Again, you use the magnifying glass to get to the zoom tool to sort of...
Sorry. I don't know why it looks like this.
Just double click on the very top part of it, yeah. So first things first, even though this looks somewhat color balanced, we need to make sure it is. I'm going to click on the white balance tool. Again, it's the 3rd tool across from the top. I'm going to come down, then hit cancel or done, and try it again. No, force quit Photoshop. You're going to have to force quit that because you're in the middle of the dialogue. How do I do that? Go up to the Apple menu, and force quit, and hit Photoshop, and force quit it. Then, before you start Photoshop up again, find it in the in your application. Yeah, find it like that, and hold down. No, it's okay. Quit. No, don't close it. Quit it. And then hold down the Command Shift option, all 3, and then start Photoshop. And hit yes. Go find those 3 files again. Click on there, grab the white balance tool. Okay, so with the white balance tool, you want to click on the gray patch that's right next to the red. And then again, if you hover over the white patch that's up here, look at the readout right underneath the histogram, 249, 249, 248. Is that where I want to be? Exactly. So you see, you don't have to do this in Capture One. You can do this in Camera Raw. It's the same thing. If you're shooting to card, this is as far as you would need to go with this. Then you can go back and shoot at card. You don't have to keep looking at the images in here. You know that your exposure is set correctly, and you've also got a white balance reference in this. Does that make sense? So to use this white balance, this guy is now white balance, but we don't know that the other ones are. To make all 3 of these the same, click on this drop-down menu right next to the thing that says Film Strip. In that, you'll come down. You have the option to select all. It'll select your other 2 images. And then click on that very same menu a second time, and you come down and you want to sync your settings. And what that'll allow you to do is any of these things that have actually been changed, if we had done any of this work in here, whatever, we would be syncing all of them. The only thing we've really done is the white balance right here. So I can leave it set just like it is. It's fine. And just say OK. That is now applied that white balance to these 2 images. And these 2 images are the ones that we want to work on. Up to the drop-down menu right here, select all, and then sync becomes available to you. All right, is everybody good on that so far? So then you don't want to open the one that's got the card in it. We've already done that part. So simply click on the one that's in the middle, and then hold down your Shift key and click on the one that's underneath it. And now you've got both of these guys right here that are actually selected. Make sense? And then down here, again, we're going to check to just make sure that you guys are set correctly. Click on this hyperlink that's at the very bottom to open up the workflow. How do you want to bring this into Photoshop? And bringing it into Photoshop, you want to make sure that this is set to Adobe RGB and 8 bits per channel. And also that this check by Open in Photoshop as Smart Objects is checked. And say OK to that. And then this should have said now, this should be, the phrasing down here should be Open Objects because you've got 2 things selected. If you only had 1 selected, this would not be plural. But because I've got both selected, I can open objects. Are we good on this? And go ahead and open it up. Now, in my case, I've still got the Select and Mask guy open, so I'm going to get rid of it. If your screen looks like mine and you're seeing a bunch of other programs and a bunch of other stuff, and you don't see the conventional Photoshop, simply come up to the Photoshop menu down and say Hide Others, and then it'll look like the way you expect it to look. I have got 2 separate photographs here. Most of you guys probably have 2 tabs, don't you? You?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you do. I hate this tab behavior, so that's why I've told you guys 1,000 times to turn it off. To get it turned off, come up to the Photoshop menu, down to Preferences, down to Interface, and then down to Workspace. And in Workspace, you want to uncheck Open Documents as tabs and uncheck Enable Floating Document Window Docking. Now, if you love tab behavior, fine, you can go ahead and use it. But for the case of doing this compositing work, it's easier to have your images visible at the same time and not as tabs. So if you set it up like this, the next time we bring an image in, we'll be good to go. But in your case right now, because you do have tabs, you need to tear those tabs off so that you've got floating images like I've got. Has everybody got that part? Yeah, just drag the tab out, both of them. You good? Okay. Okay, so we now need to put one of these images on top of the other one. And it doesn't matter which one you move in which direction. It doesn't make a bit of difference. So in this case, I've got the first one. It's frame number 06. That's the one that I've got that's in the front. You can see if you click on the 07, that one would be. But I'm going to go for 06. To get these images to sit on top of one another, you don't drag the image, you actually drag the layer. So with number 06 visible to me, I'm going to click on the layer in the layers palette and I'm going to drag it on top of 07. So it's the one that's underneath. So I'm just dragging one layer on top of the other image. But before you let go, hold down the shift key and then let go. Holding down the shift key will bring this in register. Because I used a tripod, these things should be exactly in register. To find out if they are, you now should have a file that's got 2 layers in it. Does everybody have that? Sure. Right. Okay. I can see both of my images. I've got one sitting on top of the other. So in this case, the one that's foremost, the one that's got the little stoplights, that's the one that's on top, is my number 06. But it wouldn't matter. If they were just the reverse, it'll still work. So grab the layer, not the image, grab the layer and drag it on top of the image that's in the back. But before you let go, hold down the shift key. That brings them in register. If you don't hold down the shift key, it can come in any place. It can come in completely out of register or not. And now you should have an image that has both of these files in it, both of these layers, both of these smart objects in it. Everybody good on that? No?
I'm struggling today. I do? Oh. Yes, I just have 2 layers, right? That's it? Okay.
That's it.
Wow.
I know.
Much
Long night, long day.
Damn.
Okay, so the other file that we copied over here, it's done its job. You can get rid of it. Simply close it up. You only want to keep the one that's got both the layers visible to you. And you can see, if you turn off the little eyeball, that you guys jump across the room.
Wait, which one?
You keep the one that's got both the layers in it. I told you, this is all because of that fucking tab behavior.
No, I don't have that anymore.
I know, but you started that way.
Oh, I was like, what do you mean?
So everybody's got this part, right? Okay, so this is as easy. Are you good? This is as easy as it gets. With the top layer active, you need to put a layer mask on it. So simply click. I'm going to put a white layer mask on mine, and it looks just like this. I need to hide the part of this image, though, to reveal the other group that's on the other side. So to do that, hit the B key to get a brush. In your drop-down menu here, make this a relatively hard brush. I'm not going to go all the way to 0, but I'm sorry, a relatively hard brush. I'm not going all the way to 100, but I'm going to go to like an 85% because I want a pretty clean edge on this guy. I don't want to worry about spraying something else out. How did I do what? Add the layer mask. Simply click on the add the layer mask icon right down here. You good? So with the layer mask icon selected, again, I want to hide the part of this layer that will show the other group of people that's on the layer underneath it. So to hide it, hit the D key to default your foreground and background colors to black and white. In my case, I need to hit the X key till I get black. Again, I've already hit the B key to get a paintbrush, and then make sure you're working on this mask. You can tell you are because it's got the little brackets around it. You simply paint in the other people. Oh my God. Did this work? How difficult is that? The reason we start here is it's the easiest of the composites. Because we shot this in register, you don't really have to worry too much about your masking. I mean, if you want to take a look at my mask, this is what my mask looks like. If you want to see yours, hold down the Option key and simply click on it. That's what it looks like. That's not that complex to do. That's not that challenging, right? But the effect is remarkable. I mean, take a look at this. Zoom into this guy and take a look. Both groups of people, slightly soft because I'm still focused up on this area up in here. But you get where this whole thing is going, right? Are there questions about this? So we've just gone through. You good? Okay, we've got them both on there. So that first time, you now didn't need to paint with black, though not required, because you're painting, you need to hide that part of the mask. So hit the X key to change that, or hit the little
Thank you so much.
swap guy up there.
I was like hella struggling. Jesus.
Let those balance right now.
That's wild. Wow. I'm just not a program person. Did you do it? Are you good? Why are you staring at me like that? Just making me feel a little bit better about my shitty day. Now I was struggling really Good. hard. I'm glad.
And
I
I
appreciate you. I'm glad my struggles can bring you non-struggles.
Hey, it's I think it's $3 martini or no, $5 martinis tomorrow at Louis Bar Louis.
Really?
So that should drag me through tonight into tomorrow.
I have to walk right by there to get home after my night class, so.
Tomorrow. It's all day. And then how about that until 7?
Well, I mean, I'll be in class, but I can go for drinks.
Get the rat pack.
What's
It's
in it?
like gin, vodka, little olive moment. It's the best one.
Do they have anything good with whiskey?
Yeah. And they have one that's like s'mores, which is decent.
What?
Yeah. But do that. I'll be there. Before and after the martini. It's tradition.
Should exchange numbers. It's kind of like right now where I wish I could just be a child. And then people just feed me and all I have to do is have fun. You're
Because
only...
darling, if you have a baby, you can't be the baby.
Yes, you are.
Oh, wait, to add it. I get it.
Well, you can just text me and then I will...
Just text me, because I don't understand this font at all.
Is it the font? People get thrown off by the font. And I've had some people get really angry. Why did you change your font? What? What font? The one on your phone? Yeah. Well, like, did you see with the update that the font and the Apple like changed in your phone?
Did it?
I can tell. Yeah.
I haven't updated yet. Let me see.
I think it has. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's like slight. Thank you, Parker, for saving my life. I like just not here right now. It's what?
It's a lot of stuff.
Oh. And I just like
You want to hide this
anytime
part.
before this, I just haven't used Photoshop for. Oh no. I am
Magic,
just
isn't it?
a little bit ahead over here.
Yes.
Like I have to start over and now I can't get this to here.
Okay, so throw that second layer away. And then look, it doesn't matter which one we can go either way. So you can simply grab this layer and you drag it on top of the one and
I
behind it.
feel like that in another class where it's like, oh, go out and make like an audio story.
That's good. And then we're going to add a layer mask to this guy. So just click on add layer mask.
Use any equipment that you need.
And now again,
Do those
you
things,
use
and
black to hide
none of
this part.
the prerequisites for this class have you any of that stuff. And I'm like, what class are you in? And literally, I think all we need is just like my major's so long. Multimedia photojournalism.
Yeah.
I feel like if we had spent half of one class
Yeah, you're in retouch.
going over this stuff, I would have it.
Like,
But having to figure it out on my own, I'm like, I'm not quite sure if I do. And it's frustrating. And I don't want to like fuck it up. What programs are you using? Adobe? I don't know. Like, are you using Adobe Premiere to edit video? We will be. We haven't gotten there yet. And he's like, you guys know how to do this, right? And I'm like, no. He's like, okay, great. And I'm like, sir. Excuse me.
you're good. And then click on the name Adobe, get rid of the brushes. And then you're going to paint on this mask with black to hide this part of the layer.
There you go.
It's like 312.
Yeah, I have all of mine like this one is PB3. That one
Can we
is.
talk about how at the end of class, she said, "Are we
Or
done?"
just
And I
call it
or
like
can
you
we
know,
leave
had
now?
like the last name.
What did she say?
She said, "You guys want to leave?"
Oh,
Yes.
no, I said no. Or
Like,
something.
I
Oh,
have,
she
like,
said,
my password.
"Is there anything else you'd like to discuss?" And I didn't even question
let me show
it.
everybody
I said
that,
no.
okay? Hey guys, check this out. Check this out really quickly. Because this just happened to Carolyn. She was actually getting her part right, but she got so excited about it, she did this. She unfortunately shot across these guys, and it's like, oh no, I've erased those guys. I didn't want to do that. So if you have this problem, hit the X key again and simply paint this back with white. It lets you come back in. Don't do Command Z, because this can get way too complicated.
Well, I just went too far, so now I'm gonna have to exit.
So just go back. Does that make sense? So you can go back and forth with this. So if everybody doesn't, people only want one Andy in the whole picture, right? So if I want to get rid of Andy, I just take that out. Of course, I took part of him out too, but nonetheless, you guys get where this is going. That's not what I'm encouraging you to do. Are there questions about this, though? It's really as simple as it can be. But you can do extraordinarily complex imagery with this.
But you have to have the same exposure.
Yes.
Right? And the same focus.
Same focus, same exposure, and your camera cannot move. But you're not limited to doing just one of these. So you can close this guy up if you've done it. Don't save that. Go back to the other folder that I asked you to copy over, the one that's called Capture, and open up shot number 1. And inside shot number 1, let me see which ones I want you to actually open. If you can grab shot number, well, just hang on. All right, so we're going to grab frame 6. Oh, Bridget, do me a favor, start me a sign in. Frame 6, 5,
What was it?
exposure and focus, and your camera can't move. Oh, sorry, that's weird. So frame number 5, 6. Hang on, there's one in the frame I want really quick. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, so I want you to grab frame number 3. So to do this, I don't want you to grab the XMP files, just the CR2 files. So simply select frame number 3. Don't double click on it, just select it. Hold down the command key, that's one just to the left of the space bar, and pick frame number 5. Frame number, again, the CR2 file. Frame number 6, the CR2 file. And frame number 7, the CR2 file. So you should have 4 frames right here, and drag those on top of Photoshop. Again, you should come into Camera Raw. So does everybody have this?
So 4, 3, 5, 6.
3, 5, 6, and 7. Are we good on this? Okay, zoom into the card. Again, you just grab the magnifying glass and zoom in so that we can actually see it. We're going to do the exact same trick again. Click on the white balance tool. And just so you can see what white balance tool does, click on the red patch. You'll see, makes your images really blue because it's trying to make that red neutral color. Anyway, click on the gray patch that's just above it, and that will give us neutral color. You can then zoom back out if you want. I do. Click again on the film strip right across from the film strip at the top. Click on the little drop-down menu. Come down and do a select all. It selects the other 3 images. Come back up to the film strip menu again. Come down and do sync settings. That will then bring up the dialog box. The only thing we've changed here was the white balance, and it's checked, so we're fine. Say OK to that. That now makes the others white balance, so we're good to go on that. I do not want to open the one that's got the card in it, so I'm going to pick on number 5. That selects the first one. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the last one. So I have selected frame number 5, frame number 6, and frame number 7. And I'm going to say open as objects. And now I'll get 3 images that come in. And again, if you've got tabbed behavior turned on, tear your tabs off so that you can actually see multiple images at one time. So in my case, I've got frame number 7 is the one that's up in front most. So again, I'm going to click on the layer icon, not the image, but the layer icon. I'm going to click on the layer icon, and I'm able to see frame number 6 is right behind it. I'm going to drag the layer onto frame number 6, but before I let go, I'm going to add the shift key and let go. That brings them into register. Then an easy way to get back to frame number 7, if this starts to get a little confusing to you guys, come up to the window menu and you will see down at the very bottom, you have got the 3 files that are open, have got a title right down here. Let's go back to frame number 7 so that you can get rid of it. You've already copied it over into 6, so just click on it to get rid of it. You don't need to save it. And you should have frame number 6 showing now with 2 layers inside of it. Are we all good? Then go back up to the window menu again and come down to shot number 5. It opens up. Drag it slightly out of the way so you can see both of the images. And again, I'm going to drag the layer from frame number 5 onto my shot 07, onto shot 07, what's sitting in the back. So I'm going to click and again drag over onto the top, hold down the shift key and let go. And you'll see I've got all 3 of my frames that are sitting here right now. I've got frame that was shot number 6, frame that was shot number 7, and frame that's shot number 5. You can then go back to the one that was shot number 5 and close it up because I've got all 3 of my images now are in a single Photoshop file. Are we all good on this?
They're all in 6, right?
Yeah. Okay, are we good on this, guys? Okay, I'm going to turn off the eyeball on the top one, and I'm going to turn off the eyeball on the second one, but you need to see where I am because that's the trick. This is going to now be a composite of me, right? So I'm going to turn it off. So the one that's on, I've turned off both of the eyeballs on the top. The one that's on the very top right here, the one that I'm starting with, it's on the very bottom, is me on the left-hand side of my image. So I'm going to turn on the eyeball for the other one, the one that's in the middle. This is now me in the middle. I know where I am in this. I'm going to click on that layer to make it active. And then I'm going to add a black layer mask. If you hold down your Option key when you click on layer mask, you'll see that it puts on a black layer mask, which hides this entire thing. It hides, there's nothing that you are seeing of this layer right now. It's all being hidden by a black mask. Does that make sense to everybody? If, for some reason, I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that really quick, you can't remember holding down the Option key and you put on a white mask, you simply need to invert this. Command I will invert it, or, I'm going to get rid of it one more time, click on again, it's a white mask that's actually up here. You could always come up to the Edit menu, down to Fill, and fill this with black, and say OK. Somehow you need to get a black mask on there. That's 3 different ways to do it. Are we good about this? Then I am going to take a brush again, the B key. I'm going to make my brush a little bit softer. I think that 85% hardness was a little too hard. So I'm actually going to crank this down more to like a 30% hardness. Click on the name Adobe to get rid of it. And I know my image of me in the center is somewhere here in the middle. So working on the black mask with a white brush, because again, the white is going to reveal what's on this layer, and I'm going to reveal my head in the middle. I'm simply going to click and paint my head completely in. And you want to make sure that you get my shoulders and my arms as well. And don't paint any further than that. If for some reason you get wild with your paint brushing and you cut across, you'll see I just cut across part of me, and it's now showing this layer where I am not in the first one. Simply hit the X key to get black and paint this back out in black. Because again, All you really want is this one little area in here that is actually in white that shows me. Is everybody good on this? So, Broderick, you need to turn the eyeball on that second layer. Yep. You good? All right, is everybody else good on this? Okay, then finally I'm going to turn on the eyeball on the top layer, the third one. You'll notice that everybody else disappears because I have no layer masking on here. I can only see all of the top image. However, click on that image again to highlight it, to make it active. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a black mask on top of it. So holding down the Option key, click on Add Layer Mask. It puts on a black mask, which allows me to see both of the layers that are underneath it. So I see the two of me already. Then with the black mask actually highlighted, you can see the brackets are around it. I'm going to hit the B key again to get the brush. And again, I need to paint white on this to reveal the figure that's on this layer. So black is my foreground color right now. I hit the X key to get to white. And then I simply paint in the third version of me. What a guy, huh? And now there are three of me. Did this work for everybody? Click on the eyeballs on all your layers. You got something weird. What's at the very bottom? I don't know what that is either. There's a white layer at the bottom.
Yeah, which I'm trying to invert, and that's what comes out.
Let me see really quick. Okay, well this guy's completely black right down here, which we don't want. Because you want to see that whole thing. And so in this one, that's this needs to be black again. And then this you're painting, it's the other figure over here. So with the D key and white, I think you should be able to paint me in now. Click on the very bottom one. Click on the eyeball. So we got those two, right? So then on this top guy right here, just to make sure, I think it's the right one. Yeah, you've moved it. It's no longer in register. That's the thing. So no, it's all right. Don't worry. Get rid of this mask. Brush tool. Should be able to. You should be able to paint me in. Try. There you go, girl. Okay, so this is a completely white mask on the top, but the eyeball's not on either. So then this needs to be made black. So just hit Command I and we'll invert that. Good. And then grab your white paintbrush. Yep. And you can let go of the command. Yep. And you're good. Did everybody else get this to work?
I got the first step.
Okay. So then again, you need a black mask on top of this guy. So hold the layer, hold down the Option key and click on Add Layer Mask. And this is a black layer here. That should actually be white because you want that. One of your layers you need to show everything.
That's Command I.
Okay, and then go back up to this guy right here. click on it, hit the brush, and paint with white, and paint in the final figure over here. Boom, lacka lacka.
No, I have to.
I think you're right. You're right.
Oh, yeah, it was just your shirt.
My shirt. Okay, did this work finally for everybody? We good? Okay, so you can see the possibilities of doing this. Yeah, no, that's okay.
I'm trying to paint over and it's like
Actually, because what's happening is you're actually painting on the layer itself. So go back in history. So go back to, let's go, yeah, because all this got converted to smart objects. So go back to just open, and we'll see where we're at. So you've only got one layer on here. So come back down, try to drag layer again. Let me see where you, yeah, there. I think you've got, yeah, all three of these are on here. Okay, so turn off the eyeballs at the top two. And click on this guy back here. So that's on the far right side. So that's okay. Click on the eyeball on the second one. Okay, so that's me in the middle, right? Okay, so we need to put a layer mask on this guy. So hold down the Option key. That's okay. And then click on that. So that was the bottom layer. So hit Command Z to undo that. And make that second layer active. And now hold down the Option key and click Add Layer Mask. Perfect. So that part's now gone. So then now we're going to actually paint in that figure with white. So again, grab your brush. And then you're going to paint with white. So hit the X key to, yeah, you can flip the arrows. That works too. And then remember, it's me right here in the middle. So you're painting on the mask. So paint me in the middle until I get all the way in. Good. Good. And then click on the next one. Turn the eyeball on so you can see it. Again, hold down the Option key. Exactly. And now, again, you're working on that layer. So brush again. V key. And you're good to go. So guys, what I need you to understand about this is not necessarily just people. You can do this with furniture, you can do this with objects, you can do this. There's all sorts of things that you can do using this technique. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to explore your creativity in a way that you can, again, make some sort of compelling imagery. This is not just about technique, but this is, again, our first real composite in here. And when you look at this, it's flawless. Does that make sense? All right, are we good on this? Okay, so this is what I'm going to be asking you to shoot for next week. So you can close this guy up. You don't need to save it. We are going to look in shot number 2 folder now. So again, back in the capture folder that you copied over, let's go to shot number 2. And let me see which one of these I need to pick. Oh, thanks. Hang on one second, guys, and I will. Oh, shit, I won't. Okay, so in this one, in that shot number 2, you need to grab frame number 4, frame number 5, frame number 6, and frame number 7. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alrighty. Are we good on this? Everybody's got 4, 5, 6, and 7 in Photoshop again. Same trick. I need you to zoom in on the color card. Grab the white balance tool, the third one over the top, from the top. Click on the patch next to the gray patch next to the red. That'll color neutralize that out. Click on the drop-down menu for the film strip. Do a select all. Again, go right back to the very same menu and come down to Sync Settings. Again, because white balance is the only thing we changed and it's already checked, you can say OK to that. It will white balance all the other three. Click on the second one, the one that's frame number 005. Hold down the Shift key and click on to bring in the next one. And we are going to open these as objects as well. I do, and actually it's really weird. It was an IKEA buy in New York 10, 15 years ago, and it is, I adore furniture and architecture. It is one of the nicest pieces of leather furniture you've ever seen. The leather is actually top grade, and IKEA kept it for like a month, and they haven't had anything even close to it since then. Nothing. So yeah. Okay, so we've got 3 shots now. Again, if you've got these that are stacked in, all 3 of these guys that are tabs, you need to tear them apart. So in this case, what I need you to do is we need to orient this stuff the way it's really. So this is going to be a version of expanding the frame. This is not going to be seamless. This is the second version, possible version of a comp you're going to do. So you're going to do 2 composites. One of them is going to be seamless. That's what we just did, where you're shooting the same figure using a tripod. The next one, I would still suggest you use a tripod and you do it like this. Again, we would actually put it on a tripod like this so that it seems relatively stable. Just trying to make sure you guys are awake. Like this. Listen up the wheel part right here. Turn it this way, shoot a picture. Turn it that way, shoot a picture. Turn it that way, and shoot a picture. You can do this handheld. It will simply make things a little bit more organic. If you're trying to do it, have it try to line up a little bit. But again, some of the fact where it doesn't actually line up can actually make for an interesting image. So I'm not trying to squash the creativity part of this. But at any rate, what I want you to do is orient this on your screen the way it actually exists, the way it is shot. So to do that, frame number 7 needs to be all the way to the left. Frame number 5 is in the middle, and frame number 6 is on the right-hand side, because that's the way this thing has been panned. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, we're going to now change this. I want you to click on the frame that's in the middle, frame number 5. We need to make the canvas that holds this larger. To do that, you come up to the image menu, down to canvas size, and a dialog box will actually open up. When this dialog box opens up, this is the size that my canvas is right now. It's basically 13 inches by 19 inches plus. We're going to make the canvas bigger. I need enough room to get a second image on the left-hand side and a third image on the right-hand side. So what we need to do is we need to multiply this value right here by 3. So 38.4. Okay, so that's what you're going to put in here, 38.4. So just drag across that value. If you don't have inches here, if you've got some other measurement right here, change this to inches. For those of you who are from other places than the US, if you want to use centimeters or millimeters, you're fine. Just pick centimeters here, and then again, just triple this value, which would be 96.97.5. Anyway, I'm going to stay with inches. Okay, and sorry, Broderick, what was the value again? 38.4. So put in 38.4, because that's exactly 3 times that. Now here in the anchor point here, this tells Photoshop where you want to add the extra canvas. So in our case, it's saying you want to do half of it on the left side and half on the right side. If you wanted all of the additional part to be on the left, you would click on the this little frame right here, pushing all the arrows to the left. If you wanted all the extra canvas to be on the right, it would be over here. I'm going to do half and half. Half of it on one side, half of it on the other. That's what puts us in the middle. We're not changing the height of this at all, so these numbers up here, or these arrows up here, do not make a bit of difference because we're not going to change that at all. So that's what's going on down here. So I'm finally going to say OK to this, and you'll see that all of a sudden it looks like your screen goes blank. If you double click on the hand, it's just because it made it bigger. If you double click on the hand, you'll actually see that you have blank area here on the left and blank area here on the right. And the reason these are checkerboard is that checkerboard indicates transparency. So now I need to click on the image. I'm going to start on the one that's on the right-hand side. I'm going to click on the image on the right-hand side. It's the one where you can see the little magazine holder part down in the bottom right here. I'm going to reposition this a little bit so it's just a little bit easier for me to see. I'm going to then click on the layer. Again, you don't drag the image, you drag the layer. I'm going to click on the layer, and I'm going to drag it on top of the one that I just added my canvas to. Before you let go, hold down the Shift key, and it will bring it in perfectly in place. Now, it's sitting right on top of the middle image here, but that's fine for me. I'm completely fine with that. I'm now going to move it into place. To move it into place, you either hit the V key to get the move tool or click on the very top icon. That is the move tool. If you click and start to drag over, you'll see that you can drag in any direction. You can drag it over, but you can also drag up and you can drag down. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. If you want to restrict its motion so it's only moving in one direction, which I do. I only want to move this thing left and right. I don't want to move it up and down. Hold down the Shift key before you start to drag. And now when you drag across, it will stay perfectly in place. And now I've actually got one side of my image built. Are we good on this? Then I'm going to go back to that very same image. Again, if you can't see it or get to it, it's this one right here. It was frame number 6. You can always go up to your window, down to frame number 6, and then close it because it's done its work. We don't need it anymore. You don't need to save it. I've got both of those layers are actually sitting right here. Are we good on this? Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side now. So I'm going to click on frame number 7. Again, you don't drag the image, you drag the layer, click on the layer, come over here, bring it so it comes onto where we're building the composite, hold down the Shift key and let go. It brings it right into the center. That's what holding down the Shift key does. It's sitting right here. You also want to hold down the Shift key again now. I've hit the V key to get the move tool because that will keep it from traveling. It will only go left to right. It will not go up and down. So hold down the Shift key, click and drag this guy to the other side. And then finally, I'm going to go back and get rid of that frame number 7 that just built this, and I don't need to save it. And now I have got a version of my comp that is expanding the frame. Now, if you look at some of the ways that we did stuff, the earlier stuff that we looked at, this is a triptych where everything is actually touching its edges, right? Well, let's say you don't want that. Let's say you actually want to get those little grid lines in between. That would be a possibility, right? We can do that. So to do that, you need to, again, make your canvas slightly larger. So again, I'm going to come up to the image menu, down to canvas size, and I'm going to add another inch. I'm going to actually take this width to 39.4 because I want to put a ½ inch in between these guys and say okay to that. And again, you'll notice you'll see it all on one side. You've got this inch like right here. If you double click the hand though, you'll see that you've actually got it on both sides here right now. However, what I've got behind here is transparent pixels. That's not what I want. So I need to add another layer to this. I need to actually have a true canvas underneath it. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to my layers palette. I'm going to simply click to create a brand new layer. It's the little icon, the dog-eared guy, right next to the little garbage can. If you click on that, it will put a layer on the very top of your image. We're now going to fill this layer with white. So again, if you hit the D key to default your background and foreground colors to black and white, because my background color is white, I hold down Command Delete will fill the entire thing with white. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. If you can't remember that, again, up to the Edit menu, down to Fill, and pick Fill with white, and say OK. And it covers your entire image because this white layer is sitting on top of everybody. So we need to move the layer down to the bottom. Simply click on the icon and drag it till it gets all the way down to the bottom and let go. You have now got your white canvas that's on the bottom. Your two layers are sitting on top. So then I'm going to go back up to my very top layer. That's the one you can see by the icon here. That's the one that's on the left-hand side right here. I'm going to hit the V key to get the move tool. I'm going to then hold down the shift key so that it only moves left to right. It won't move up and down. And I'm going to click and drag it till I get that space line in between the two. Then finally, I'm going to go down to the middle layer. This is the one for my image that's all the way on the other side. Make your middle layer active. Again, with the V key selected to get the move tool. Hold down your shift key to make it only left and right draggable. And click and drag it to the other side as well. Hit the F key to go to the pasteboard and the F key again to go to the preview. And this is what your expanding the frame image looks like.
When I drag mine, it pulls the image from the other side with it.
Damn it. How do I click on it?
You got auto select on it. It's trying to pick everything.
How do I-
Check that I got it.
how do I get out of
Again?
2 layers selected too. So
Sick.
click on your bottom layer to
I
get
just
rid
have
of
that,
one of
but
them.
I just have to do.
And then go up and just click a
Shift.
single one. And now that
How do you
one
make this
is
perfect, though? Oh, I have to be
And
selected
you
on
need
the
to that bottom layer, I think is empty.
There we go.
Fill that with white.
Come
So
to
this is what your
mama.
background
Hey
layer
now.
is.
Huh?
Command
Dang it.
delete.
This is all gonna be on the recording.
So now
This is
it's
so
white.
bad.
And then go to the, I think it's the middle one is this guy frame right here. Click on him and drag him the other way. Sure. Has everybody else got this? Are we clear on this part, guys? Is this working for you? Okay, we're going to do one last one because we've got the time. Are you guys okay back there? To get the back to the image that's got the little stoplights on it so you can close this up, hit the F key again. That'll take you. So we just rotated through the pasteboards. You can close this guy up. You don't need to. Oh, before you close it up, just check and make sure. This is what I've been talking about all along. All of these are smart objects. If you double click on one of these guys, it goes right back into Camera Raw. You could reprocess this till the cows come home. Okay. I'm going to click on the red stop light to get rid of that. And I'm going to go after the final version right now. We need to go to shot number 3. And I'll tell you which ones to open up here. So in this case, it is frame it's actually all of them in there. So it's going to be frame. There's one in here. Oh, it's actually copied. You need to select everything that's in that folder, except for the Capture One folder. Here, let me get the same place you guys are. So I'm not going to do it out of this. So in here, don't pick the Capture One folder, but you want to pick this one, Shot 204. Hold down the Command key and pick all the CR2s. That's all you want. So we're going to grab all the CR2s. Not the XMP guys and not that thing called Capture One folder. And drag all of those into Photoshop. And again, it's the very same trick that we did before, because when I shot these, it's pictures, it's a close-up of a pillow. When I'd actually shot the close-up of the pillow, I didn't have a color card for it, so I simply copied the color card from my last shot. That's the one that you're looking at right here. So, but it'll still work because it's all the same lighting. So again, I'm going to pick the white balance tool, click on the patch that's right next to the red, click on the drop-down menu by film strip and do a select all, come up and do a sync settings. Say OK to that. Everybody else has been color balanced. I'm going to click on my frame number 1, scroll down to the bottom, and click on frame. Hold down the Shift key and click on frame number 6. That selects all of them, and I'm going to open these as objects. So this is going to be our last version of expanding the frame. A little more Hockney-like. Okay, so to start this one out, I'm going to come up to my window menu, come down to the bottom, and I'm going to go after frame number 1, just because I know where this is. So when I shot this, it's a picture of a pillow. That's all it is. and I start with the top left-hand corner of the pillow. Does that make sense? However, I need a canvas now that I can move all of my images around on, all of my stuff in here. So I have a problem. Even though I can make this canvas bigger right here, right now, I need this first frame right here to be able to float. I don't want to just increase this frame right here. So to do that, I'm going to start by clicking on adding a frame, a blank layer. So I'm simply going to add a blank layer like we did before by just clicking on it. I am going to fill it with white again. So again, because white is my background color, Command Delete will fill it with white. If you can't remember that, go up to the Edit menu, down to Fill, and pick white as your contents and say OK. But then I'm going to drag this guy underneath my smart object. And the reason I've done that now is that now I've got a canvas that I can actually move this guy around on. It'll make a little more sense in just a second. With the bottom layer still active and selected, the white layer that we've got, I'm going to come up to my image menu, down to canvas size, and now in this case I need to make everything bigger. I need to make it, and I'm just going to hit it overkill because I don't really know how much larger I need this canvas. So 3 times this would be almost 40 inches, so that's what I'm going to put in here. I'm just going to do 40 inches. And then I also need 3 times the, no, I don't need 3 times the depth, so I only need twice the depth here. So I'm also going to put 40 inches down here on the bottom because I don't need that much more depth. However, you remember I said this image is the top left-hand corner. So I don't want this image frame that I've got right now to be centered. I want all the additional canvas to either be added to the right side or underneath. So to do that, you click in this quadrant right here, and you can see these arrows indicate where the additional canvas is going to go. So all the additional width is going to go to the right, and all the additional height is going to go down towards the bottom. Does this make sense to everybody? And then I'm going to click OK. If you double click on the hand, you'll see the entire thing, and this is sort of what I want. Now on the bottom down here, you can see it added empty space, and I really want the entire thing, my bottom down here, to be white. So again, I've got layer number 1 active. I'm going to hold down because white is my background color, Command Delete fills the entire thing with white. But now when I click on the first smart object, the one here in the upper left-hand corner, if you hit the V key, you'll see this is what I was trying to do. I wanted this thing to be able to float on here and not actually have to move my canvas. Does this make sense to everybody? So then I simply need to add all the other players to this. So I'm going to go up to the window menu. I'm going to come down to frame number 1. I'm all about housekeeping in this. So this is my frame number 1. I'm going to go up to window and come down to frame number 2. And in frame number 2, again, I'm simply going to click on the layer and drag it on top of my big canvas now that I'm working with. Hold down the Shift key, will bring it into the very middle. Then again, I am going to go back up to my window menu. I'm going to come down and pick frame number 2 again and get rid of it because, again, I try to keep things tidy so I'm not getting confused. I've already copied this one into my big composite here, so I don't need him there anymore. Hit the V key, and I'm just simply going to bring it up to sort of get it kind of in place. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but it'll get it a little bit sort of like closer for what I need. I'm going to go up to my window menu, down, and I'm going to grab select frame number 3. It opens up. Again, I'm going to click on the layer, drag it on top of my big canvas, hold down the Shift key. It'll bring it in the middle. Again, because I've never changed the Move tool, if you let go of the Shift key, you get the Move tool. You can simply click and drag it up somewhere. Again, it doesn't have to line up perfectly. It's just sort of a beginning thing for me right here. I'm going to go back up to window and down again to frame number 3. It's already done its work. I can get rid of it. So I'm clicking on it. I don't need to save it. And then finally, I've got the 3 that are going to go along the bottom. So up to the window menu, down to frame number 4. It's the lower left-hand corner. Click and drag the layer in there. Hold down the Shift key. It'll bring it in the middle. Click and drag it a little bit down further to the lower side. We'll sort of see how this goes. Back up to the window menu, down to frame number 4 and get rid of it and don't save it. Up to the window menu, down to frame number 5. We've only got 2 to go, guys. Click on it, drag it onto my canvas, hold down the space bar, the shift key, it'll bring it into the middle. I'm going to click and sort of drag it down to the bottom. Finally go up and get rid of the other one. Get rid of frame number 5, and then finally the last one, frame number 6. Click on that, click and drag it on top of my image, hold down the shift key, it comes in the middle. I can click and drag this around and that'll actually help me out. Go back and get rid of frame number 6. Now, we need to order these things in some way that it makes it seem a little bit more coherent. However, the problem that I've got right now is that I know that I've got frame number 1. That's the only guy that I've actually really got going here. If you want your cursor to automatically select the frame, because for instance, if I want to do this second one right here, I've got to remember that it's frame number 5 right here. If you don't want to put up with that hassle for this part right now, select this up, look up in your options menu, there's a little checkbox. You can put a checkbox into auto select. When you click on auto select, it will automatically find the frame of the image you click on. So for instance, if I go back to that top left-hand corner one and I click, you'll notice it's selected, automatically selected the one down at the bottom, and I can actually click and move that guy on it. So then I'm going to auto click on the second one, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm looking at this little arrow part right here to try to get that little arrow part to sort of get closer to where this guy was, and now these guys are relatively well lined up. I'm still going to use that same tool to click on my third image, this guy right here, and what I'm now looking at is these 2 little marks that are right here. Now these 2 little marks get to be a little bit harder to sort of remember to see if it's actually going on this part. If you want it to be like super exact, whatever, you could actually drop the opacity of the one that you're moving. I'm going to zoom into this area so I can see what's going on. And now when you move this thing around, you can actually see the pattern of the one that's underneath that you're trying to line up. Now in this case, it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. I don't necessarily need it to be perfect. I'm then going to drag the opacity all the way back up again to 100%. I'm going to double click on the hand again to jump back out, and my top 3 frames actually look reasonably good here. So again, with the move tool, the V key still selected, I'm going to go after my bottom one right here, and you'll notice that in the bottom one there is a fork that happens right here that also happens right here. You can drag it up and you can just eyeball it. Again, you can do the same opacity trick. You can lower the opacity down, zoom in so that you can actually see it, so that you can line it up with the one that's right underneath it, and you can get pretty close. Again, this was all shot handheld, so they're not going to ever be perfect, but that's okay. I kind of like the imperfection of it. As a matter of fact, I don't even know that they should be as good as they are right now. So at any rate, I'm going to double click on the hand to kick back out one more time. Again, with the V tool selected, I've now got, this is my middle guy right here, but you'll notice that the middle guy is completely off. Look at the spine, the sort of thing that's going down this image right here. That is nowhere near going to match this guy that's going right down here. This guy actually needs to be rotated. So to do that, you hit Command T. Command T will actually bring up the transform dialog box. If you cannot remember that, you come up to the edit menu down to free transform. Again, you'll see it's Command T right here. When you get the free transform tool, you can still move the image around just like we did with the move tool. However, if you bring your cursor to the outside of the image, you will notice you get a double-headed arrow. With that double-headed arrow, you can actually click and rotate this thing. You can also still drop its opacity down, because what I'm going to try to do is get it to line up on the image that's right up here underneath it. And I can sort of see what's actually happening up here. Again, I'm going to zoom in on this. I think it's that little line guy. Yeah, it's those little guys right there that I'm trying to get anchored here. But again, I'm not necessarily trying to get this perfect. You can see that the rotation is slightly off. So I'm going to click a little bit to the outside and rotate it back a little bit to try to get the little stripes to line up. But it was never meant to be perfect. This seems to me to be close enough. Once you get a transform that you like, you click the check mark at the top or hit the enter key. If you don't like it and you want to go back before you don't have any rotation or any of that, you click the circle with the line through it. But I'm going to click the checkbox to go ahead and commit that. And then again, I'm going to drag the opacity all the way back up again. And then finally, I'm going to double click on the hand to get back out. I'm going to go after my last one right here. Hit the V key to get the move tool and bring this guy in. And you can see that I sort of get close to this. And this is now my composite.
How do you bring it to like the front?
If you need it to be on top, it needs to be higher up in the layer order. So for instance, I'm going to take my most top one right now and drag it down one level. And you see it goes underneath the one that's in the middle. So layer order, you start from the bottom. Everybody is on top of it until you get to the top. So that's your layer stacking order. Are there questions about this, guys? And then, if you like this, which I frankly do like, I actually think this ends up being somewhat compelling, I'm going to click on my very top layer. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and hold down the shift key. I'm not going to click on my bottommost layer. I'm just going to click on the first of the smart objects. All of those are now selected. You can now click on this and recenter the entire composition in the middle of your canvas. You could crop this, but personally I like it the way that this actually looks right now, and I'd print that mother out. Again, you've selected all of the layers except for the one on the bottom, because you don't want the one on the bottom to move. Hit the V key and move. It'll move all of them at the same time. Are there questions about this? Are we good? Come on, guys. This is art.
Oh, get me out of it.
Yes. Oh, sure. Why not? No, guys, this is open-ended here. Are we good on this? All right, so you're so again, read the assignments if there's any questions about it, but this is what you need to plan on shooting. Are there any questions? Are we good? Yes. No, I just want you to shoot. We will work on it next week of doing the assembly part. So just shooting. I'm trying to give you guys a break because you need to work on assembling your topology this week. Okay? Are we good on this, guys? I'll see you next week. Everything is printed in this class for critique. How do you do? Oh, actually, all of you guys did. Did everybody get on the sign-in sheet? Yeah. You don't have to submit it. I already know you did it. So you're all going to get 100 for that because I love you all.
Love you too.
Thank you. At least somebody does. Part of this crowd is really getting to be tough.
Sorry.
Jeez.
I just gotta really bring the life to the party. You should have seen me in my class earlier. She was like, it was one of those things where like she doesn't know how to use her time wisely. So then she was like, "Is there anything else we need to discuss?" The first thing comes out of my mouth was just no. And then she was like, and then she goes, "Why'd you say that so fast?" I'm like, "You asked and I told, and we don't need to be here anymore."
I thought the typology was due.
Oh,
This week.
bring it next week.
Good enough.
Yeah. Bring it next week.
Dang, look at him.
She's like, we can find something to do.
And I was like, no. If you can't find something to do, then no. That's not my job.
Yeah, that's kind of not my problem with this class, but I got to be honest with you. It's we have 3 minutes to get out of here.
Oh, that was great. Where this stuff is starting to click.
It will. Okay, Bridget, you've got to admit, that is more interesting than just a picture of that pillow sitting on the couch.
Just don't call it art because she's not about that.
Yeah. Okay, I won't call it art.
It's like a trigger word for her. It really, honestly is. I don't know why.
Okay,
But it is.
but can we just say it's at least marginally more interesting
Yeah.
than just a picture of a pillow?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm going for. I'm not going to ask for anything else.
I think personally, struggle more with like creating the images, and like not enough of that is like taught. Like, what do you do when someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, you can't take pictures here," and I'm like, I need these pictures, or like, what do you do when people just keep staring at you, or just like like problems like that.
Okay, so wait.